Hey everyone, my name is Gary, aka Hempy. On this effing Friday on BS Talks, we're gonna be talking about the Aaron Rodgers injury and the bet that this local bar in the Green Bay area had. Very interesting. Then why are our tuition rates so high? Interested in learning about that? Watch our episode. Hey, welcome back to BS Talks, everybody. On this effing Friday, we got some fun topics to talk about. As always, my name is Gary, aka Hempy. With us is, of course, Julian. Say what's up, man.
Hey, everybody's enjoying or Joop. Hope everybody's doing well. It's gonna be a fun episode. Stick around.
So, dude, you're not into fantasy football, right?
Not at all.
Not at all. So, in the betting world, there's things known as bad beats, right? And that's like it could be like a team's up by 20 points. There's 10 seconds left, and the other team runs some stupid play and ends up scoring a touchdown. And now that team doesn't cover the spread, or right? It's just like there was no reason for that to really happen.
Yeah.
The game was already put away. I had a I saw a really bad one on the internet where this guy only needed like half a point to win his fantasy football game. And he had Aaron Rodgers going into Monday night, which you're like, oh, that's a lock. Like, I needed 10 points, which, like, that's a lock. But Aaron Rodgers got injured on, like, his fourth snap of the game.
Oh, shit.
Tore his ACL, which that's not a short injury to come back, and it's going to be hard. He's 39 years old, I believe. So, but do you know where Aaron Rodgers? Do you know where he's playing at right now? Do you know where he used to play at?
Dude, I have no fucking clue who Aaron Rodgers is.
So he's the two-time reigning MVP of the NFL.
Okay.
Right. He started his career and was a long-time Green Bay Packer, their quarterback.
Okay.
This offseason, he went to the New York Jets. And everybody say, the Jets are Super Bowl bound. They have a really good defense, but like they didn't have that general, that star power, that savvy veteran quarterback that that knows how to win games, and that was Rodgers. But of course, the Green Bay fans, they're kind of bitter that Aaron Rodgers left them, even though like their quarterback that replaced him he had a good first game. There was a bar in the Green Bay area that said, every time the Jets lose, your bar tab is covered by the bar.
Oh, shit.
Right?
Yeah.
So people went there just to drink anyways. I think Wisconsin drinks the most per capita in the United States.
Really?
I think so. I want to say
most lawyers. That's probably why.
They know how to pound beer up there. But imagine you go to this bar, right? You're there, you're drinking, and Aaron Rodgers goes down, and you're like, okay, they're playing the Buffalo Bills, which is one of the top teams in the AFC. Like, if it was going to be a tough match when Rodgers was healthy, now that he's out, like it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah,
like it's going to be a blowout. Like, knowing that if the Jets now lose, your bar tab is going to be free. Like, dude, you're ordering shots, you're ordering beers. You're probably not even, you're ordering the nice tequila or whiskey, right? You're not ordering the well.
So really quick. So you said that at the fourth snap, he got injured. At the fourth snap is what, probably like 3-4 minutes into the game?
Yeah, it's I think it was like 4 minutes into the first quarter.
Okay.
So yeah, the game essentially just started.
Yeah.
Like, so, spoiler alert. I mean, it's freaking Friday. Everybody should have, this was Monday night game. They should have known. Anybody in the sporting world anyways. The Jets went out to win the game. So imagine you just spent the last 3 hours getting drunk thinking you weren't going to have to pay your tab. And now the Jets freaking just pulled out this unbelievable victory against one of the toughest teams in the league. And now maybe have a $300, $500 bar tab. Like,
dude, that's fucked up.
Dude, me and my buddy Chad one time we closed out, like we went through like 3 waitresses because they like their shift changes. We drank for like 8 hours this day at a bar, and it was they had happy hour all day, half off appetizers. Dude, we went through like $300, like,
Jesus.
and like had we had the chance of that being free, we would have at least racked up another $100, like at least. Um, but him hurting his Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles brings up a big question in the NFL of is artificial turf safe?
So were they playing in artificial turf, or what were they playing in?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And a lot of players, there's been a lot of gripes about playing fields or the condition of the field in general. So like that was a big thing with the Super Bowl, like the grass. The NFL spent a shit ton of money trying to make a super grass, and everybody who talk about this past Super Bowl were like it was a skating rink that stuff was just tearing out. It had no grip, it had no hold.
Yeah.
Huge controversy there. So like the actual grass players aren't happy about playing on the artificial stuff. They're not happy about because they're getting all sorts of injuries. Aaron Rodgers, old left tackle David Bakhtiara or something, posted some stats where there wasn't anything that made him significantly different. Looking at the error bars and the standard deviation, there was overlaps, though you can't say that there's a huge difference in the frequency of injury, but it was higher. It was higher than grass turf, and everybody says grass safer because it gives out at a certain point. It will tear out before your knee's gonna tear out.
Yeah, I was gonna say playing in turf versus playing in grass. There's a huge difference. That grass gives you that cushion, and you can sort of dig into it a little bit better. Playing soccer, at least.
I was gonna say within soccer, is there anybody playing on artificial turf, or is it all grass?
So I don't know about the professional leagues, but I've played in turf versus in grass. And turf is it feels weird. It doesn't feel like you have that kick into your step. So I've seen it with both, and I think grass is a little bit better than turf.
So I saw this thing. I think it was in Finland. I wasn't able to re-find it because I think it was on just a random day of scrolling. I want to say it was Finland. They're in cold weather area.
Yeah.
So they have a lot of like indoor soccer arenas.
Yeah.
Have you ever paid attention to the little like black particulates within the turf?
Yeah, I've seen those. Those are fucking annoying, dude. They're fucking
you know what they're
in my shoes, in my backpack.
You know what they're typically sourced from?
If I had to guess, probably tires.
Tires is a big area where they're sourced from.
Okay.
Problem with that is some of the components they put in the tires are actually carcinogenic.
Yeah.
So these people in Finland realize, why are so many of our young people getting these rare forms of cancer?
Oh shit.
And they're attributing it to the fact that they used recycled tires in the artificial turf. So I believe like this particular area like ban the use of artificial turf.
Do you know what type of cancer? That
I don't remember it offhand. Bad cancer, not good cancer, bad cancer.
Not the astrological one.
Yeah. Because isn't cancer a crab?
Dude, I don't fucking know that thing. Yeah. Because I remember there was a study talking about how cell phones are increase your chances of getting a brain tumor or cancer, something like that. I can't remember what it was. And they ended up looking at the test, and they said it's practically impossible to measure how much it increases your chance, because it's such a rare tumor that you don't really see it. And so they ended up just looking at the statistics of over the last 30, 40 years when cell phones have been around, and ended up being, you know what, that tumor or cancer hasn't actually gone up. It's actually stayed the same. If this study was right, where it says 3 times, it increased the chances by 3 times, then our statistics should have changed over the last 10, 20 years, but it actually stayed the same. Oh.
Yeah, dude, I
kicked my camera.
I've always wondered like what effect maybe like all these different signals have on us. Like,
yeah,
like we're bombarding ourselves with just Wi-Fi, and like the fact that any one of us right now could look at what signals we're getting, and there's like 8 different ones,
Yeah.
right? Which is like, one, like, why can we can't be neighborly and just all jump on the same account? Like, come on, people, we all could be saving $30 a month here, you know. Uh, and so like you wonder, like I wonder what effect that might have on us, like I don't know, just kind of interesting. And like that's like, remember all the 5G
Oh, that was wild.
conspiracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it was gonna
uh
give us cancer, and all these microwaves were gonna cook our brain. It was a fun one. Fun
yeah,
conspiracy.
yeah. But this one, I mean, I can see, like, the concern with using recycled tires,
Yeah.
because I know another place they end up is a lot of playgrounds.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
For those, like, those little fake play mats. But it's like, dude, let's bring back the sand. All right. Yeah, just, you might have to worry about feral cats using it as a litter box, but like, that's just gonna build up kids' freaking immune
Yeah.
systems. You know, kids are gonna lose more lunch money, dude. I remember. This is like third grade. I think one day, like, my buddy was like hanging upside down on one of the things, um, and he lost like $2 in quarters,
Oh,
dude. And
shit.
we sat there like sifting through sand, and I think I was like, one day I'll come back with the metal detector, and we'll find your money.
All for
But like,
those few bucks.
yeah, go spend $300 for a metal detector to find, $2 worth of freaking quarters. Um, but money in school, that overlap is actually our big topic for today.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, college tuition. Um, that conversation, I mean, it's been in the news a lot because of Biden administration wanting to forgive $10,000 to $20,000 of student loans, which I say, like, why put a cap on it? Let's let's if we want to get rid of student loans, why don't you just get rid of them? Why even restrict it? Let's just let
Forgive it all. Fuck it.
yeah, just delete. You know, let's control out, delete student debt, wipe it out, uh, start over. Um, but yeah, this the whole thing with student loans is a problem that's become very apparent the last 20, 30 years. Um, it has to do with the fact of just how much tuition, how much the college system has changed, uh, from, where a lot of some of these universities started, back in the 1800s with the land grant. Um, Even like the California system, the UC California systems, those were designed to have zero cost.
Yeah.
Uh, and now I think it's probably close to 20 grand a year in tuition kids are paying for. Um, but and then the out of state one, like, so my buddy went there in like 2016, 17. Guess how much this guy was paying for out of state tuition
Dude, at
at
least
UC
50
Berkeley?
grand. 50
It
to
was
60
50
grand.
grand.
Yeah.
And then he was like, had like a pool table's worth of space, and he was paying like 2 grand a month.
Fuck.
Like, yeah, and like it was like essentially a dorm, but an
Yeah.
off campus dorm. Like, it was ridiculous. But yeah, there's a good documentary called called Ivory Tower. It was filmed and produced, or released in 2014. It's available on Amazon Prime. And they're going to kind of go over some of the things that we'll talk about here, and then we'll use our own experience to expand upon it. But their whole thing was saying that the mission to educate, the mission to actually build and help our young minds grow, in a sense, uh, right now is in competition for prestige. And rather than academic prestige and research prestige, it's also who can offer the most programs and facilities. Um, and this leads to a really inefficient program, and it led to what's they called the perk wars. Now I remember, so Julian, once upon a time, was the president at New Mexico Tech.
I was.
Um,
So the president of the student government, wait, not of New Mexico Tech.
oh, they're not complete. our audience aren't idiots. Way like
Well, you want to say it
students.
correctly.
Um, by the way, there should have been a disclaimer showing here, so even if I didn't, I can't be held accountable for it. Um, but while you're at New Mexico Tech, dude, what were some of the things they were talking about? Maybe to improve student experience, uh, engagement, recruitment, things to make NMT, I guess, a better school, not in terms of academics, but as far as experience.
So I think one of the biggest things was having more facilities. New Mexico Tech is such a small school. It's kind of hard for students to do things there. The biggest thing was one of those was the gym. The gym looked like it was a den. It looked terrible, and they actually ended up renovating it, which it looks really cool now. They did
How much
that.
bigger is it?
It's not bigger. They put a fresh paint of coat on it, a fresh coat
Oh,
of paint.
really?
Yeah,
I thought they were wanting to tear down like the old gym and build like
they
essentially
did do
like
some
a LA
remodeling.
Fitness. Like I thought they wanted to go like full Planet Fitness on it. Like
No, so they did do some remodeling. They tore down some walls, and made it look a little bit bigger, but it wasn't like, I don't know. It wasn't amazing, I guess, in my
mhm.
eyes. But some people might think it is. I don't know. But they did that. As far as outreach, they wanted to go out to more events and reaching out to people and telling them, hey, come check us out and all that. Um, but that's basically it. I don't think they talked about anything else.
So we should also mention that New Mexico Tech is a fairly bare bones school. It's
Yeah,
STEM only. Uh, they offer some psychology and stuff, but just as a general education courses.
yeah,
With they don't offer any liberal arts majors. It's strictly science and engineering,
yeah,
and maybe some econ stuff, maybe. Um, but dude, some like what happened during these perk wars, the documentary called it. It led to these universities like, oh, we need to have a climbing wall, and our climbing wall needs to be bigger than theirs. So that's going to cost for this professional installation like X a $1 million to do this. And then we can't just have a pool. We need to have a pool that has like little shallow areas to where you can lay out and sunbathe in,
yeah.
or have a lazy river. Um, so
I want
it
to go to
wasn't
that
just a
college.
matter of yeah. So it became not just a what do you offer, it's how much better is it than the your rival organization,
Yeah,
right? Um, so not only that, but then bureaucracy, all the different administration that came in. So from 1975 to 2005, what percent of administration do you think occurred?
what percent of administration do I think occurred? What do you mean?
Like increase.
Oh,
What
increased?
increase in admin? Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. 6 times?
So 240%.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
What increase do you think there was in terms of faculty?
That has to be
So
at
these are
least
the
double
actual
that.
like educators. 51%.
Oh shit.
About 20%. So we have more students coming in, bigger areas, and we're having less
Yeah.
actual instructors,
Yeah,
right?
I think if you're having more
Uh
students, you should have more teachers or professors.
yeah. Um and so let me find the number here, but they said I'm trying to find how much the tuition went up in that same time frame. But like dude, the Pell Grant used to cover well, okay, in 1970 when they started the Pell Grant, how much of tuition do you think the Pell Grant used to cover?
60, 70?
Um 116%.
Oh shit. So it covered
Yeah,
it and then some.
and then some. So you had some beyond your tuition paid for by a Pell Grant, which grants are not do not need to be repaid. They're free
Yeah.
money to you. You had some, to carry on for books. That was probably what that extra amount was for, like extra academic charges that aren't covered in your tuition and fees, right?
Yeah, because
So maybe your
books are
book,
expensive. Three, 400
Yeah.
bucks for that fucking book to use it for what, 6 months?
Yeah.
It's wild.
I mean, depending on how hard the class is, it could be a full year, right? If both of them.
Well, you don't even use the book. Some of us don't even use the book.
But you still had to buy
Take it in class just to
it.
show that you have it.
Yeah. So in 2010, so 1970, 116%. What do you think it covers in 2010?
Oh, it's 20%, maybe 30%.
42%.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Um, and I'm still trying to. I'm looking here at my notes to try to find that tuition number. Um, uh, no, not the Cooper Union. Uh, I'll find it here in a second. But yeah. So okay, and so I argue the quality of education at these big schools. Um, if you're an undergrad, it could be lacking.
Yeah.
I see them as almost as like puppy mills, um, and that they're just trying to pump out kids as quickly as possible. So there'll be like organic chemistry classes that have um, like 200, 300 students. When I took those at community
Yeah.
college, I was in a class with like 10 students, 15, 20 at most. Um, but these schools, like the fact that tuition, god damn, let me find this number. It's gonna bug me. Um,
Cue the fucking Jeopardy music.
yeah. Okay. So like a lot of older generations say, "Oh, just get a summer job." Well, I got when I went to school, I got a summer job, and that paid for my tuition. I worked as a lifeguard at the pool, right?
Yeah.
What percent of increase do you think happened from 1980 to 2010? Tuition
And
increase.
tuition increase, dude, I think that's somewhere within 300%, 200%.
1,120% increase.
Son of a bitch.
So like a magnitude more,
Yeah, dude, that's
right?
10 times more. Holy shit.
So think about it. 10 times. So they're able to work 3 months, right? Like let's track this linearly, right? You're able to work 3 months to cover tuition, and now it's 10 times more.
That's 2
I know this
years.
is
2 years and
yeah,
some.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
That you would have to work, and that could track with some of these places that are 40, 50 grand if you're making minimum wage
Yeah,
to
I
get
was
there.
I was
Like,
looking at I think it was a meme, I'm not sure, but they took a picture of what the cost of living was in the 1980s, I think, and tuition for Harvard I think was like $4,000, maybe.
so here's the thing about Harvard: they have such a large financial endowment
Oh yeah.
that if you can't pay for it, they pay for it.
Yeah.
So like even Stanford, they have a thing. I think if your household makes less than like $110,000, you get a full ride to Stanford.
Oh shit.
Yeah, but you if you're not Stanford, you don't make it in, right? You're not that
Yeah.
super achiever. You go to a state college or state university. Now, you're paying. Your parents. Let's say they're still below that. Rather than getting free tuition, now you're trying to ask your parents to pay 5, 10, $20,000
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
a year. You know, um, so you know who Elizabeth Warren is, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so I think this like around 2010. Uh, she had a statement where she said how much the government makes off of interest from student loans. Um,
In
in a
what, a
10-year
year?
period,
Oh, 10 year. Okay.
10 years. Over, she's like, in the next 10 years, the government will make X amount of dollars off just the interest of student loans. Take a guess.
Upwards of $1 billion.
You're close. $184 billion.
Yeah.
Like,
Fuck.
dude, 184 on interest. That's what they're making on our student. That's why I always wonder. Like, I understand having interest on a loan.
Yeah.
Why are there subsidized and unsubsidized loans? To me, that's such bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
which
okay,
means explain a little bit more so people who don't know what that is.
so subsidized loans. So all the loans you get, if you take out a loan, they're gonna accrue interest at some point. They have when you sign off for the loan, they say, "Hey, I know I'm taking this loan out. It has a 6% interest rate on it." You sign it, that money gets released to you. If it's subsidized, that interest won't start until like 3 months after you finish your classes. So that could be after you graduate, you have your degree, you're no longer in college. A couple months after that is when your interest will actually start. If it's unsubsidized, that interest accrues day one.
Yeah.
You start getting charged interest from the day you accept that loan. So, and then they offer this like, oh hey, you could pay off the interest that was accrued. So if you take a $10,000 loan out, you could pay us $600 to pay off that 6% interest, or it'll just get added to your account.
Yeah.
So you're taking out money. You might eventually be taking out money to pay interest on the money that you took out. And the whole reason you took the money was to to go to school to get a better job. But you could be 3 years away from that, using the money you borrowed already to pay for the money you borrowed.
Yeah.
Like
it's a vicious cycle. It sucks.
Yeah. And I think the worst part about it, dude, and this is something that I mean it affected us, is that uh not all kids are brought up in households that know how to support a college student.
Yeah.
You know, like, dude, academics was never highly stressed in my house. Like, it was like, don't fail or get your ass beat.
Yeah.
But as long as you weren't getting letters sent home, that was good. Like, you were like, that was a win in our household.
Now, my household was a little bit different to where my mom expected me to get straight A's no matter what. And dude, this one time, I think it was in middle school, I got a B and she flipped the fuck. I was like, why are you getting a B? What the fuck? I was like, dude, it's a fucking B. Well, later on, I was like, it's a fucking B. Like, why was she flipping out about it? But dude, she went wild. And well, sure enough, I tried to get straight A's, maybe one B here or there. But she lost it that first time I got a B. And ever since then, I was like, you know what? That wasn't something she should have flipped out on. It was just a fucking B. Holy shit.
So I understand, like why she flipped out, right?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you're ruining your chance, right? Like,
Yeah.
she wants you to have a better life than what she had. You already got a bigger house. I
can hear her already.
Yeah, oh, it's nice in here. Extra rooms, huh? Just empty, and you didn't pay me rent when you were saving up for this. Ah, okay.
It's an actual house. What the hell?
Yeah. But like, so Julian was a squared away high school student. Like, he did well, high end performer. You want to tell him what happened to you about like a year and a half into your college experience there, buddy?
So, a year and a half into my college experience, I was pretty much fucking up. I wasn't putting in the work, and part of it was I was on my own at that point. I wasn't being harshed on to do my homework, do this, do that, go to school, all that. So in a sense, that freedom kind of was detrimental to me. I think at one point I was like in academic probation. That bad.
So me and Julian became we were roommates starting his sophomore year.
Shout out to Craigslist.
Yeah, this podcast is brought to you by Craigslist Miracle. It's either great roommates or serial killers. Hopefully not both. But yeah, I mean, I remember like Julian would be like, "All right, man, I'm going to class," and then he'd come back like 10 minutes later with a burrito. I'm like, "Dude, I thought you had class." Like, oh, I couldn't find parking really close, so decided to come home.
I couldn't find parking to do a 2-minute walk to class. Not even 2 minutes, like 1 minute. If I didn't find parking that close, I was like, nah, I'm not going to class.
Yeah, so New Mexico Tech, it's a school that's small enough to where they don't charge you for parking.
Yeah.
Let that sit in. I used to at the park when I was at community college, I had to pay for a parking pass, and then I would have to park about a quarter mile away to walk to my class at Mesa College. Um, so yeah, Julian would be like, "Yeah, I couldn't get in the close parking lot, so I just came home." Uh, and we had an interesting talk one day. I was like, "Hey man, before you leave for like winter break, like I need to talk to you about something." He was probably thought like cleaning the house or some shit like that. And he comes in and he sees me sitting like on the sofa, like not like leaning back
There
or
was
like.
this certain position where you would sit in, and it was kind of like this. I was like,
So yeah,
he's sitting straight up. His legs are on the floor. Something is about to go down. Like, he needs to talk about something serious.
yeah. And I was like, dude, here's the thing. I'm not your brother. I'm not your cousin. I'm not your uncle. I'm not your dad. I'm nobody to you. Like I don't even know if I'm your friend. Like I'm some dude you pay $400 a month to for rent, and that's about it. No, mind you, we got along. We joked around. We were good roommates and all that, but like we weren't friends yet. Like
We never
we
hung
were
out.
very, yeah, we were just acquaintances. Like,
Yeah.
uh, and I was like, dude, I know I'm nothing to you, but here's the thing: I don't think you have anybody in your life who's going to tell you this. I'm like, you're fucking up.
Yeah.
You're not going to. I'm like, you don't pay money to go to college to go and take the test. Like you go there to interact. You go there to talk with professors and get that experience and try to learn from them directly, both about course material and not course material, about what decisions they made in life to let them to where they are at. And I was like, dude, you're fucking up. Like you're literally paying money to go to class, but you're not going to class.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, like you're gonna probably drive home and be like that motherfucker did it. Like you, I was like, you might be mad at me, but I tell you what's gonna happen. You're gonna go home. Your mom's gonna ask, "How's school?" You're gonna say, "Good," and then she's probably gonna ask you 10 questions about your girlfriend, like, like, because
Yeah.
unless they go to college, they don't know what questions to ask. They don't
Yeah.
know about finals and um, uh, your senior year projects or clubs or you doing research for professors. They don't know how to ask those questions unless they've gone through that process themselves. And that's why a lot of first gen college students, when they start out, I think my brother told me some amazing statistic. Like it's called the freshman melt.
Yeah.
That like a lot of first gen students, like an impressive amount, like maybe up to 30%, will fail to go to their first day of college classes because the process is too hard.
Yeah,
So
and that makes sense because I mean it's a whole different monster you got to tackle, and being unfamiliar with that, it's difficult.
yeah, so in 2012, there's some statistics here. Out of students who went to public universities, what percentage do you think failed to graduate in 4 years or less?
Oh, 50. I don't know.
68% in 4 years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right now, I'll argue some degrees aren't 4 year degrees anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't come in primed for calculus as an engineer, or if you go to a school that's hard to get certain classes, it could be 5 years just in sequencing.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially if you're not a student who thrives well in high pressure, likes taking 18, 20 units. If you're a student who likes the more, just give me 12 bottom, and I'm going to have a hard enough time with that. I would say 5 years, 6 years is realistic. But so even in 6 years, they have a statistic. How many students fail to graduate within 6 years?
40, 30.
44%.
Yeah.
So, and I think this is part of it is one, in high school, we're fairly new, like not nurtured. I almost said neutered. Nurtured.
That's a whole
uh,
different thing.
you'll get taught a topic on Monday. On Tuesday, it gets
Yeah.
reinforced. Wednesday, it gets reinforced. Thursday, it gets reinforced. Friday, you have a quiz, and then you'll have a test on it like in 2 weeks. But every day, the teacher's reinforcing, reinforcing, reinforcing it. College, they'll teach it once, assign a homework to it, and they'll never come back to it.
Yeah.
Um, and I think one thing is like students have a hard time learning how to become college students, and then uh, faculty is rewarded for their research, not necessarily their teaching.
Yeah.
And the only feedback they get on their teaching is from course evals, which are given by the students. Who students will be like, "This guy's too hard. His class is too difficult." Da,
Yeah.
da, da. And so the guy who dumbs down his class, who lowers the overall quality of education his students are getting, making it less rigorous, will get more favorable reviews because it's not based off the student's performance post that class and how they'll perform otherwise. It's how enjoyable was this class for me while I was taking it.
Yeah.
Which I understand we want our colleges, our professors to be more engaged and stuff, but it also comes down to like, are they ruining the standard that we're being held to?
Well, and coming back to how we're nurtured in high school and middle school and all that, it, there's some states like New Mexico whose education is the bottom of the barrel,
I
the
think
very
last I
lowest.
saw, high school was 48 out of 50.
Yeah. And so college is already up here, and they are expected, their students are expected to come in at this level. And New Mexico has them at right down here, right at the bottom. And so when you go into college as a student from New Mexico, it's difficult to pick up that pace. It's not as for example, my brother who's going to high school in Germany, he says, you know what, here students are actually involved. They are wanting to participate, and those that want to go to college are separated to the ones that just want to take a trade class or something. And those that are actually wanting to go to college, they'll want to put in that effort, they'll want to help each other. He was telling me that his classes are 20 to 25 students, which is similar to what it is here, but those students want to excel, they want to be learning. And when you go to high school here in New Mexico, dude, half the class is fucking around, the other half is trying to pay attention but they can't, and it ends up just ruining it for most of them.
And to give more context, we're not just saying that strictly as outside observers or reflect on our time in high school. We both taught secondary school for a year. So
You
I worked
Yeah,
I
you taught
during
seventh
my
grade,
gap
right?
year. I taught eighth grade science
Yeah.
uh, for a year, and Julian worked as a substitute teacher, and then eventually high school history
History teacher. Yeah.
history teacher. Yeah,
Ironically.
yeah. um, and you see that and like the systems in place are, it's so hard to catch these kids. I had some students who were years behind on reading.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, rather than me trying to teach them some physics or chemistry, at the same extent, I'm trying to push my kids who are at grade level or above and who are high achievers. Like, I should have those kids who are who are behind in reading in a separate class, teaching them just maybe more observational things, and then
Yeah.
I could really nerd out with my high end performers. But we've gotten rid of that, and a lot of extents it's like, oh, for equality and
Yeah.
diversity. But it's like if I would have had a class of just my ass kickers, just the kids who just loved to nerd out, wanted to try hard, we could have gone to so many different layers of science and engineering. We could have had a lot more fun, at least perceived from my end from teaching.
Yeah.
And then the students who weren't into that aspect, maybe I could have taught them a more applied end and like relate everything back to practices that maybe were more interesting to them, like welding or you
Yeah.
know. And yeah, it's hard. You know, there's expression we both learned in statics. You can't push on a rope. You
Yeah.
know, and that's what some of these kids are like. You know, you have to literally drag them along. You can't push
Yeah.
them forward. You can't put them ahead and be like go. You have to drag them along. And if you're dragging one or two kids, you can only pull so many. And that's the problem with our class size. That if they're not driving themselves forward, if you're having to pull them, you can only pull so many kids.
Yeah. And dude,
And
and I know that if these kids put the effort into it, they could learn all this. They could for sure excel in any of these subjects if they just put the time in. But a lot of them have problems, personal problems, to where they bring it to the school. For example, there's one time where this kid, he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing outside of the class. And instead of going out there saying, "What the fuck are you doing? Go to the fucking office," I sat down with him and like, "Dude, what's going on?" It's like, "Nah, you don't understand, man. It's just there's so much going on in my life." I was like, "Dude, you're 14. What are you talking about?" Like, "Yeah, man, I'm having so much trouble in my house. I'm having all these problems and all that. Is why I come out here and do this." Like, dude, like put put that thing down and go inside. You're too young to be doing this. Go put in the effort. Go have fun. Forget about what's going on at home. I understand it's difficult, but just go enjoy your youth." And it's rough
Yeah.
to see them in that position.
Yeah, no, that was something I wasn't prepared for when I was teaching in New
Yeah,
Mexico. And it's something that I still kind of carry with me in the sense that I've tried to develop programming here at University of Kentucky within our department to where we do a STEM outreach strictly in rural areas
yeah,
to bring them like a science day because I saw like man, some of these kids have never talked to somebody in college
yeah,
about like and showed any attention to like or encouragement towards them. And there's kids where I'm like, they're not dumb, they're just not educated.
exactly.
And their teachers in grade school, they didn't fail them in the sense of grades, but they failed them in the sense of teaching them
They
the
passed
material.
they passed along the problem to someone else, which is what
Yeah.
most of them are doing.
And when you get an eighth grader who has, you have multiple eighth graders who have a K through 5 reading level, you can't just tell them to read a science book and try to pull something out of it, you know? And that's where I saw the thing. And again, I had some really strong, educated kids there. Like,
Yeah,
but there were some that were, I think that it was just embarrassment. And rather than like owning up to that, it's easier to say, well, fuck this class. This class is stupid. Right.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
um, so I'm going to talk about two universities real quick while we still have some time. Both designed to be zero cost schools. All right. So one's called Deep Springs College in Death Valley, zero cost all male school. Right. Uh, it's built on three pillars: self governance, labor, and academics. So this meant for you to go there 2 years, learn how to work hard, and kind of shape some of your personality, so you could go off to a 4 year school to finish your degree. Um, the kids spend half their time working the land,
Yeah,
or working to feed, working to do laundry. So they're feeding cows, they're milking cows, they're killing and feathering chickens, they're putting up fence lines, they're fixing motors that run water pumps, they're doing crops and stuff. Um, but then they run these self like governed classes. We're like, okay, we're gonna spend the next couple weeks talking about this type of philosophy, and they'll sit there and debate it. Um, so that's off a very bare bones structure. What that founder found important, like
yeah.
teaching young men how to work. There's another place called Cooper Union. This is New York City. Uh, the guy Peter Cooper, he owned the land that the Chrysler Building is built upon.
No shit.
Yeah. So the total endowment that he gave was an absurd amount of money, and it should have promised. It's on their building, like no student should ever have to pay for an education. That's the belief in the design of this school, that nobody will ever have to pay an educate or pay for college tuition.
Yeah,
Um, guess what they're doing now?
having to pay for tuition.
They're having to pay for tuition.
Shit.
So they started in 2014. Right now, tuition is at $44,500 a year,
Fuck.
and students only get a 50% scholarship when they used to get 100%.
Damn.
Um, this is what happened though. It's it was part of that whole perks war thing that I
Oh
mentioned
yeah,
earlier.
yeah.
So they designed this huge mega building, lavish, uh, designed at over $1,000 a square foot to build it.
Damn.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, they took out $175 million loan to build this building. Right,
Fuck.
thinking
Yeah.
it's going to inspire our kids or whatever. Um, these people they're like, okay, well, rather than paying for the construction right away, we could put that like on a deferment schedule. Let's take this money, let's invest it in some hedge funds because we're smart people. We know what we're doing.
Shit.
They took out the loan in 2006. What happened 2 or 3 years later?
The fucking economy fell in 2007.
fucking financial collapse, right? In
Yeah.
2008, 2007.
Yeah.
So they lost a shit ton of money.
Fuck.
So that's what they're saying. Like, that's why they're in trouble. And like in 2011, started proposing maybe we should start charging tuition to meet this deficit. So it had nothing to do with the fact that, yeah, you have to pay teachers, and yeah, like these students are lucky to have free tuition. Is, oh hey, we tried doing too much. We got caught on this investment, which we thought we were gonna make even more money and look like geniuses. But now we gotta start charging these kids $22,000 a year for their tuition in
And the
order.
problem is that the people that fucked up don't pay the price. It's the students that pay the price.
Yeah, and that's another interesting thing about just student loans in general, right? Like,
Yeah.
uh, it never goes away. It's like
Yeah.
herpes. Like,
Sounds personal way.
the fact that you say that is interesting. Do you want to expand?
Why are you taking it personal,
Yeah.
huh?
But like there is no filing for or what's that called, bankruptcy,
Bankruptcy.
to get rid
Okay,
of your
my bad.
student loan. Like, yeah, you take out $1 million loan to start up a restaurant, you lose everything. File bankruptcy. Takes you a couple years to start over.
Michael
You don't have to
Scott.
pay that
I
back.
declare bankruptcy.
Bankruptcy, yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah, but our student loan debt hit $1 trillion in 2014.
Fuck.
Like 1 trillion. I don't know what it's at today. Um, but yeah, dude. In order to kind of meet like the need of the students, have you ever heard of the concept of you're Joop, but have you ever heard of MOOC?
No.
MOOC, massive open online courses.
Okay.
So this is like before pandemic. They're like, "Oh, okay, how can we potentially teach kids, especially at low end, because they're looking at like San Jose State, that 50% of their incoming students needed remedial classes. So like, how can we offer these classes in a format that's going to be cost effective, um, but also high performing, in that the students will pass it.
Yeah.
So have you like this, like where Coursera, Udacity, a couple of these startups happened of like teaching online classes where you get a certificate or something at the end of it.
Okay.
So San Jose State invested, rather than investing in teachers and tutors. Say, hey, let's give money to these guys and see if they can teach statistics, college algebra, and entry level math. Okay, they had pass rates of 50%, 25%, and 24%, and
Okay.
low,
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And um, I think a big part of that is that they took the concept of, well, we'll find the best instructors, the rock star teachers, and we'll have them teach, rather than like 50 kids, have them teach 5,000 kids at a
Oh, I
time.
see. Yeah.
Here's the problem, and me and you both know this because we're both shitty students out the gate in college. The kids who can learn in an online format are your high performers,
Yeah.
right? Like, kids in remedial classes aren't going to take to a college like, they need one-on-one engagement. They need face-to-face accountability.
Oh, yeah.
They need that structure. They don't know how to perform. So like, I could see transitioning some high, like 300, 400 level classes to strict online format, because at that point the student should have learned how to learn.
Yeah.
But going into the college, you don't have that.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it may be something we'll get into another episode, but I just made a note of it, that like, if you look at the way our K through 12 system was designed, it was designed not to make innovators and thinkers, but the next generation of factory workers.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Bells, whistles, getting you to move, and like patterns and stuff. Um, and we could talk about that. There's a whole little video that I like on it, but here's the thing: if we're still using that system, we don't have the factories for them to work in.
Yeah. In fact, they've closed down a lot of factories. We don't
Yeah,
really
so like,
manufacture anything here.
Yeah, so like no wonder why they're saying we might have a hard time meeting domestically the next need for like the next generation of engineers and such. But it's like our system's failing at all levels because they want to promote college, but we don't know how to help people pay for it.
Yeah.
The trades in large part are getting shoved to the side, but they're saying there's going to be a huge demand for like plumbers and stuff in the next 20 years.
Yeah. After the ones that are
Um,
working now retire and all that.
yeah, so, um, but just like I wonder when is enough going to be enough for these colleges because you really need a generation to stand up and say we're not going to pay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
as a whole, like if we like if for 2 years all 18 to 20-year-old students said do not go to college, it
Oh,
would
it'd be
weed out.
fucked.
It would hurt so bad to these places that it would force reform.
My brother was actually telling me that in Germany, it's okay for them to take a gap year to start looking at colleges, to start looking at how they're going to pay for it. They're not expected to right out of the gate, out of high school at 18, go get in debt, go to that school, even though you don't know what to do.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. I always thought when I used to like tutor kids in community college,
Yeah,
especially kids who I saw that were bright, and I'm like, and they weren't trying. I'm like, dude, like you're smart enough to get this. You're just not putting in the work.
yeah,
I just this I don't like doing this. I'm like, what's the worst job? And like one guy was like, I think I would hate to work at like an oil changing place. Just to be under cars all day changing oil, like that would suck. I'm like,
yeah,
go do that go get that job for a year. He goes, why would you tell me that? I'm like, because a year of doing that is gonna make you ultra motivated to sit in a library
oh
and
yeah,
read a fucking book.
yeah,
Like like it's gonna make you when you're here putting in the time to actually learn than just to pass it until you get to home and go play Xbox or whatever the fuck.
yeah,
Like, because like when I was 18, there was no like my second semester, and my family still gives me shit for this because like I told them like, oh, I want to take a bowling and like a golf class. I figured it'd be like a cool way to meet people. But like those are the only two classes I was gonna sign up for, like these two units, bowling, like intro to bowling and intro to golf. Like, um, but like at that time, like 18-year-old Gary was not ready for
yeah,
academics. And that's why like it would tear me up. Like when I'd be looking at some of these kids at when I was teaching in New Mexico, because it's like they're smart kids and they're already giving up on themselves. But like I did the same thing when I was at their age, and
yeah.
now here I am a few years later. Uh, you know,
Decades.
yeah, hey, but like 16 months away from a PhD, like
Yeah,
in engineering. Um, so I was like, but I saw those, and I was like, man, like, there's not a dumb kid. He just doesn't. He or she, like, she doesn't know she could be smart, or that it's fine to try, and
yeah,
like, um, uh, and then they get to college and like, oh, I don't want to take out loans. I don't want to do this and that, um, and then this, unless you have the grit or like the want, the drive, it's so hard to make it like something like an engineering where getting a job, a high paying job post graduation is a realistic opportunity. Like
yeah.
not all degrees pay the same.
Oh yeah,
Not to say that there's not value in all of them. Some it's harder to substantiate like where that value is at. But like if you're truly an artist, going to an art school makes sense. If you're truly an artist,
yeah. If
if
it makes you happy and that's what you want to pursue, I mean, do it. Why not?
nah. But at the same time, if you know like, oh hey, well this is just kind of interesting to me, like, and you don't put yourself into it, like understand that like that job that you get after college is might be a job you have to make.
Yeah,
You know, how can you know put your artistry into making custom, like, you see it on TikTok, people making custom blankets or custom floor mats, people's dogs, and like, oh, they took their artistry, but rather than be like, I'm just gonna do charcoal paintings the rest of my life and try to sell them on the boardwalk or something, like they learn something else, like, oh, I'm gonna make these uh fairly realistic like rugs of these people's pets,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
um
I think the
so
biggest thing is doing the research on what type of careers you would like to get into, and then seeing what happens after college. What do they get paid? Where do they actually work? It's all about doing that initial research to understand what
The
they do.
example I used to give is like, dude, there's very few people who love everything about their job
Yeah,
and the pay.
yeah,
They're like they love the money, but they hate what they do.
yeah.
They love what they do, but the money could be a lot better. It's like I used to say, like, unless you're like the photographer for Playboy or something, like, like that dude, I'm sure loves going to work every day. Like
He
there, but
gets
like
paid well.
for every one job of that, there's 10,000 other people grinding away.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, you get to a point to where you buy a house or you make a baby or something, right? And now it's hard to pursue said goal,
yeah,
right? You get one real world undeniable thing, and now dreams go out the window, and you're in survival mode.
yeah.
Um, and when that happens when you're 18, it's hard to
Sucks.
figure out what your path is. Yeah.
So, real
Uh,
quick before we log off, I'll tell this little story about my brother and his experience in Germany. It's quick. He said so for their breaks in between classes, they have like 20 minutes to go outside and walk around, eat something, whatever they want to do. And so he said, I think it was his first week in actual school. He said he was walking around and all of a sudden heard like a loud pop and somewhere in the back. Right away, he looked, ducked, and looked around. And he looked at everybody's like, wait, nobody's scared about this? What the hell? And then it was like, it's just a firework. What are you doing? It's like, oh. Like my poor brother is traumatized.
well, dude, I remember playing that game at New Mexico Tech, firework or gunshot.
Yeah, dude. Poor kid.
Yeah. But all right, man. Let's wrap up this episode. Guys, please. There's a little button that looks like this at the bottom of the screen, right below where
Not
you're
as
watching.
fat though. Probably a little skinnier.
And maybe it's like the other way, right? It's this hand. I don't know which one's the right way. Press that; it helps us. Yeah. Press that. Hit subscribe. Let us know what you thought about the episode. There's something you learned. Maybe a certain thing you want us to expand upon. But follow us on all our platforms. What are they, Julian?
X, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. I mean,
Yeah. You should see it on our link tree. There should be a link on our channels page. But yeah, that's it, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Effing Friday, and see you guys on Monday for the Monday movie review. Later.
Thank you, everybody. Take care.